everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Battle Rap Resume. This is your host, Tom Kwei here. We are recapping an event that just went down yesterday, Academy 19. This is Premier Battles Proving Ground, prove yourself, Tournament Academy, rising up through the ranks. We had LS Dean, who, won it last year. It was great to see LS Dean at the show itself, and he actually came up to me and started complaining about my analysis, him and major concerns, but today, we are looking back on the event. We're going to go through all of the battles, as we always do. It was, I don't think it was necessarily as bad as I've seen. Obviously, Tox has sort of flogged it unexpectedly. Yeah, there were some real shining performances, and I thought one guy in particular really stood out to me. It was quite fruitful early on. It fell, and then it started to deteriorate towards the end, as these things always do. But yeah, follow us at Battle Rap Resume. Get in touch with me, battleresume@gmail.com. Of course, follow Premier Battles as well, the network, and all that sort of stuff. One of the great things about this show is people get in touch with me and they say they're fans, they say they're going to be at events, whatever. It's always cool to meet up. At Shrewsbury, actually, which I went to the day before on the Friday, I met Simon and some of his friends, and that was great. And, yesterday was no different, really. It was a really great treat of an event, especially because I got to chill out with my guest here, James. I know he's been a fan for a long time of battle rap going back, and I know he's a bit of a Battle Rap Resume stan as well. I sort of threw episode numbers at him, and he barked them back. Yeah, James, good to have you on, man. How's it going?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me, Tom.
Was this your first Premier Battles event?
No, the first one was the All-Star game in December. Yeah, absolutely, obviously an incredible event. Got to see Soul Ilmac live, so it was amazing.
Yeah, and yourself and Battle Rap, like we spoke about, you going to Birmingham, I think?
Yeah,
2012 was your first event, so ages ago.
Yeah, like a lot of people got into it through Blizzard Grist. I had it sent to my Facebook page like 8-9 times, something like that, and I just avoided it at first. I thought it looked quite cringy, and then I put it on, and at first I wasn't sure, but by the end of it I was just like almost immediately obsessed, and I started doing what everyone does, rabbit holing YouTube. And my first battler who I was really into was Pamphlet.
Oh yeah,
and
Pammy's a legend.
Yeah, and that was the reason that Birmingham was my first event, because that was supposed to be his last battle.
Yeah.
But it resulted in my number one battle rap regret, because we opted for the Saturday instead of the Sunday, because we went to see Pamphlet, but ended up missing out on Blizzard Roan, which one of my all-time favourite battles. So, but yeah, been obsessed with it ever since, really.
And what do you think of the Academy format? Obviously, this is the second season of this.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I think it's just such a good way of getting new talent out there, because DF tried to do it a couple of times. I felt like they had a thing where people would pay in £100 and it was supposed to be...
Yeah, that was the Headhunters. That was awful.
Yeah, it didn't really... Did it happen? I felt
yes,
like there
it
was
did.
a lot
Yes, Seuss won, not the Geordie Seuss, the Dr. Seuss guy, who I think he battled Jay Dillon as the prize at Don't Flop Scotland or something like that. But that's not to say he didn't have good battlers in it. I think Method Monk was pretty decent there. Ill Rollings, there was some good performers on it. But yeah, you're right. It's great to see these battles trickle by, like the tryout battles, or whatever. But it's great to see a card pretty much dedicated to that, and not even necessarily to people. A lot of people on this card have battled a lot. And, it showed the difference in quality. There were people who'd never battled before, and people, I think, 10th, 11th battle or something like that. Let's build a quick picture. So the surroundings, it was my first time there, and I had called it on camera in, I think it was Blitz versus Max Pepsi, which I covered on my top 10 most disliked King of the Ronalds battles.
Okay.
It was in the Zombie Shack, and I think I called the Zombie Shack, I was like, it's Manchester's Fiddlers or something like this, and quite a few comments called me out. They're like, yo, it's not that place. I actually quite like it. You can most recognise it from its nautical ceiling, the netting and the casting there and stuff like that, but it's got quite deep recesses. There's a nice stage to the right, but it's still intimate and close, and it was a cool environment. There was a lot of people there. There was a good atmosphere.
Yeah, it's if anyone who's familiar with Manchester, it's formerly the Attic, which was good little gig van. Yeah, it was busier than I thought it was going to be. Actually, I thought it was going to be a little bit thin on the ground, but it felt like it was more than half full, which I thought was amazing for a free tryout event on such a horrendously rainy day.
Yeah, it was an awful deluge of a day. It really was, and it forced people inside. And it was a excellent environment, atmosphere. As I say, you weren't there for the first two battles, is that right?
Yeah, we missed them. We were Apple Maps in our way round Manchester and managed to get there a little bit late because it was battle rap. We assumed that we'd have hours, but turning up at 1:15. And yeah, we missed the first two battles, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the weather maybe even pushed it to be more prompt, or they got a lot of battles to get through as well, of course, and there was quite a decent crowd by this point. So the first battle to go down was Zebedee versus Sam Hypes, who were two people that I wasn't that familiar with personally. Zebedee, low-key an evil clone, it felt like in points. He did have some haymakers here and there, some interesting multi-streams. Sam Hypes I felt was more disciplined, but they both gave good performances. There was really nothing to complain about here. And maybe I'm being a little harsh, a little unfair, but I thought for what it was, for what the card is, it's pretty decent.
I spoke to quite a few people in the crowd as the day went on, and no one mentioned those guys at all, so I'm assuming they didn't leave a massive impact on the crowd, because a lot of names kept getting repeated from people. People saying such and such a battler, put on a really amazing performance, and they didn't get mentioned. So I'm not sure if that's an indictment or not.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's the first battle, as I say. It's not to say that there wasn't good stuff in there. It kind of got a Zen vibe from Zebedee, a kind of mild evil vibe, as I say. He had some haymakers. He was going down on Sam's nose, I think, and he was like, he doesn't do lines, he does paragraphs, which a lot of people reacted to. There's quite a decent control your mind telekinesis kind of idea from Sam Hypes. Fighter getting involved, as he always is, distracting from the battles unnecessarily so, kind of saying, oh, that made sense, loud over no sound. It was pretty cringy, to be honest, and he did ruin a lot of battles. I was an asshole at this event. Yeah, going forward, what was the second battle? That was Just Jay, it was Easy versus Milky, right?
That's right, yeah.
Now, one of the really cool things that they did at this event was, I think pretty much everyone put down £20, so there's a lot of money from the competitors in the pool, in the kitty, to win. And Milky, going into it, I actually spoke to him just prior. I'm becoming a big fan of this guy, I have to say. I'm turning around my opinion, not so sharply held, but I did vote against him versus Sherpa, I think in next to like 2 or whatever. But I remember seeing his Canel battle. I said to him at the event, and I love that battle. I think he's got a really good performance in this. So yeah, I mean, just to sum it up, like his first was good. His first had the style, had the panache, I felt. He's got a very expressive manner to him, and he's got a lot more technical as well. He can definitely rap a lot more. Easy with the bad throw, easy the kind of stocky hard man aphorism spouter. I thought he was quite menacing, but Milky was breaking new ground really on the second. Going in on the fact that Sis has a much older girlfriend. He did that well, and he went through those cliches with aplomb. He won the performance of the night in the end for this, and I think it was down to this round.
Again, I missed it, but Milky, everyone that I spoke to said that Milky was the best performance of the day. So I'm really gutted that I missed it, actually. But he was the name that just kept coming up with throughout the day.
Yeah, an easy second. Going in on those sort of Serbian bars, his family fighting in the Falklands and stuff like that, and have Milk missing the kid on the side. There's not to say that there wasn't some really interesting stuff here. But Milky is definitely going to be one of the ones to beat in the academy, and I think this is the reason why. This guy's battled a fucking lot, and I thought this guy was excellent. So and that should be said as well. It was about him shagging a 64-year-old. We get to Jay versus Lizzie C. Then the first one you saw yourself, James.
Yes.
How was this to you?
We were actually really impressed. I took my girlfriend with me. The only battle event she'd ever been to before was the All-Stars game, so it's obviously world-class quality kind of thing. and I sort of warned her as we were going along, this is likely to be the other end of the scale. Was expecting vast majority sort of chokes and stuff like that. So it was a really impressive battle, actually. Was it Lizzie C?
It was Lizzie C, yeah.
Yeah, Lizzie C. She had quite good multi. She had quite a nice bar about the Umbrella Academy. I can't remember what it was now, but
something about the academy, I remember. Yeah,
Her. I felt like her breath control got the better of her quite a lot. She was sort of running out of breath by the end of a lot of her bars, and it made it quite difficult for her to land the punches. She really went in, I think it was on the second round on Just Jay, doing some bad dad bars, saying he was a bad parent, and it felt like she was, she'd written for him.
I felt underwhelmed by her, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. I thought a lot of the punches were quite sterile. The whole, exaggerated sequence of leave this comedian hanging like Robin Williams.
Yeah.
It's just, whatever. It's the academy. I know it's not Checkpoint or some bullshit like that, but still, it slightly bothered me. But Jay, I thought, was dynamite. Electric performer, and really connected in an effective, absurdist way. Like, I like this guy here.
Yeah, I think he's a hot pick to go round to the quarters, if not the semis. I felt like he had probably the most unique performance of the day. Obviously, I didn't see the first two battles, so I can't comment on them. But I felt like he was the one who sort of he stood out for me probably most in terms of the content. I felt like he had a bit of a like double L G dash kind of like kind of like swaggery personality. Yeah. And to be honest, I felt like it was a real sort of imbalanced battle. I thought Lizzie C was okay, but I thought Just Jay just wiped the floor with her, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't make it fairly far in the competition.
School versus Visual was next. This was Visual's first battle, and I have to say immediately, James, that he's the GOAT. He came with a mastermind bar in the second. Yeah.
Well, Visual, for anyone who doesn't know who he is, he's quite a small lad. He's quite young looking.
He's pretty young.
He's got a bit of a One Direction-y style, swoopy, fringy haircut kind of thing. Score sort of towered over him kind of thing. Score, it felt very 2011 to me. It was a little bit basic. There were mum bars in there, which for me is just an automatic L, unfortunately. Quite a relaxed. He felt like sort of like a Lego on slow-mo to me. Visual, straight out the gate from the moment he opened his mouth, he was like a force in the room. He was really impactful, and he had this sort of like quite a much deeper voice than I was expecting from the way he looked. And he was really like powerfully confident, really got up in Score's face, and he just wasn't phased at all. Visual's another person I can see going really far in the competition.
Yeah. Writing wise, he was very impressive. It was something like, fuck the fifth stage of grief, I'm skipping tears, or kind of Major Concerns-esque, this guy.
Yeah, and I think he finished his second by saying the end of your career marks the start of mine. And I felt that was quite a Soul-esque way of ending around that, just sort of like very straight to the point, brevity of words, just putting that person in their place. I think he's really someone to watch. And I sometimes struggle a little bit with the accent with Irish battlers, because it's quite a soft accent. Sometimes I find like I can't catch everything that they're saying, but I felt like his enunciation was really, really crisp. And I felt like he absolutely bodied Score.
Yeah, he did. He was very memorable. I literally cannot remember Score, I'm afraid. I think he just sort of slid into that, generic mess there. But Visual. This is what I want to see from these sort of competitions. Like, it's great that Milky did well and Just Jade did, but we know who the fuck these guys are. Like, I want to see these people that are just straight into it like that. And I know that the Irish contingent are behind him wholeheartedly. And another huge scene, of, you know, someone from there who's doing so fucking well. So yeah, that was a really cool battle, and I think most people have visual 2-0 into Grazza versus Shawnee.
Yeah,
this was, you know, this is a slugfest.
Yeah,
this had the biggest reaction of the night.
Yeah,
this was a wild ride of a battle.
Yeah, when you say the biggest reaction of the night, I take it you're referring to the Norfolk pussy line.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So Shawnee B, who I felt had a bit of Yunnan about him. It might have been the accent.
He's always had that kind of monstrosityism. Yeah. Yeah,
and he one of his bars was yelling out, "I'm from Norfolk, pussy," and the crowd just exploded.
Yeah, it was actually, you're from Shottingham, well, I'm from fucking Norfolk, pussy.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not sure if they were laughing at him or with him.
It's huge.
I think it was absolutely massive. He had to bring it back 3 times, and on the third time, he had to get into the rest of his bar, sort of like riding a wave of crowd noise kind of thing. I think he did really well, actually. I think Grazer, is it Grazer or Grazza?
I mean, shout out to Avo in the stream, by the way, and thank you to everyone listening as well. Definitely comment there. But yeah, that was Grazza, who I spoke to at the event, who was actually at Shrewsbury as well. He kind of matched him on aggression. He was a little more self-effacing. The dad bod line stuck out to me. There's a lot of charisma there. Again, you know, this is a guy, okay, if this guy battles Milky, or if Visual battles, you know, Just Jay or whatever, like, there's some cool sort of future matchups here.
Definitely. I think Grazza took it. I thought Shawnee B was really good. I really enjoyed him. I felt like Grazza, he just had that confidence. He had a real presence on stage, and he had something like, drop me in the pit and my eyes will glow like Riddick or something like that.
Sure, I think that was like an opening reference, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can see Grazza going far in this, and I had him on a sort of. I gave him 2-0, but it definitely wasn't a body. But yeah, I think Grazza's definitely someone to watch out for.
Into Mites versus Chapo. I mean, there's a lot of battles. There's a heavy rotation here, these 2 60-second rounds. And for the most part, the battles are delivering by this point. I think there might have... I'm not going to say there's been the peak of the event, but, you know, there's been a lot of battles going down already. So what did you think of this battle?
This is where it started to go downhill,
I know what you mean, yeah.
So, Chapo, he was okay. He was going in on Banbury. He kind of riffed a little bit on... do you remember Marlowe versus Josh Fox, where Marlowe was talking about, I think it was Peterborough?
Peterborough, the famous third round, yeah.
Yeah, so I felt like Chapo tried to do something similar about Banbury. It didn't really work for me. I felt like it's something I've heard done much better by someone else. I mean, like, Chapo was okay, but yeah, it felt like that was the point where things started to go downhill a little bit, unfortunately.
And then terms versus context.
Yeah, terms and context.
Do you remember terms? I mean, context is, you know, George from the forum. I think he was supposed to battle Nayfunk at a certain point. I know he's been meaning to battle. I think he battles as Posh, or used to, or I can't really remember. But terms is great. I spoke to Terms briefly at the event. You know, he gives a very sort of juggernaut, you know, a performance there. I like his way. I think he's had like 7 battles. We're talking, he's been on the Don't Flop tryouts and Gab and stuff like this. And I think the problem with this one, personally, for me, was context did choke quite badly in the second. You know, the event was riddled towards the end. It seemed to start strong and then taper off. But, you know, like you say, there are a fuck ton of battles. And how did you find the crowd as it went on? I think people really were giving it everything.
Yeah, so was Context was he Iranian? Was he Bulgarian?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so when Context was trying to rap, he's got a really thick Bulgarian accent. I was standing pretty close to the guy. I was struggling to understand what he was saying, but I felt like there was some people in the crowd sort of like doing mock Bulgarian accents. And I felt like it was like incredibly disrespectful to the guy, and I felt like he choked because it was at least partially to do with the crowd. I think I don't know. It felt like it was a bit of a cringy moment. I felt people could have shown a little bit more respect to the guy, to be honest. Yeah. The fact that he's rapping in another language is incredibly impressive. I don't know. And there was other than that, he didn't really get a lot of reaction. What I did catch of what he said, I didn't think it was amazing, but I don't think he was given a great chance, unfortunately. And I've got to say, with Terms, I think he did quite a few football bars, which I never understand. I've never understood a single football bar ever. So that battle sort of passed me by a little bit.
Yeah, and Yannick versus Rubik's, I think, was next. And Rubik's, man, I'm a big fan of him. He was on the Battle Rap Resume event, of course. And, he's a pretty complex, dense writer, really promising from Wales. But, yeah, again, I don't think he necessarily delivered here. I think he should have given more of a knockout.
Yeah, with Rubik's, seen him before, and he choked quite early in both rounds. And I had the same thing with both rounds, that when he got going, I was really impressed with what he did. I think he looked really nervous going into it, and I think he let his nerves get the better of him. I hope that he gets picked. I hope he gets through, because I feel like with a little bit more confidence, he could be an absolute problem. Some of his bars, some of his wordplay, really impressive. Yannick, so Rubik's choked, and it was the 20-30 second pause, and Yannick sort of like steamrolled it in without waiting for anyone to call it. And for me, that was the standout moment of the whole day when Yannick started. He's like a big, intimidating fella, and he's got this massive, like, sonorous voice. It felt like it filled the entire room.
It is sonorous. It totally is, yeah.
Yeah, that was for me, that was a standout moment of the entire event. It just like, he was an absolute powerhouse. I'd really like to see him go up against Graza. I think that would be a real, like, Clash of the Titans kind of battle.
Yeah, and Shauno versus Carney. I'm just looking at Connor's updates. I'm struggling to remember who that was. I don't know if I saw that battle.
I think we've missed
probably missed some.
Topher and Intimidation.
That's right, sorry. Topher and Intimidation as well.
Intimidation, he stumbled immediately, unfortunately. I respect anyone who's got the balls to get up there and do it. But even when he got going, it was not my sort of battle rap. There was a lot of there were mum bars. I did find the guy a little bit basic, to be honest.
Okay.
Not my kind of battler.
And do you remember Shauno versus Carney?
Yeah. Can we talk about Topher really quick?
Oh, sorry, of course, yeah. Well, everyone always forgets Topher. Sorry, Topher.
See, I thought Topher was great. I thought I thought he was kind of like a baby Sharon kind of thing. I thought he was quite entertaining. I felt like a lot of people yesterday were trying to go for a sort of shocks, soul kind of, dense wordplay bars kind of thing. I felt like Topher was quite fresh in that environment. So I enjoyed him. I think he'd be an interesting wild card. I don't think he would. I don't think he'd be a winner, but I think he'd be an interesting person to have in that mix, personally.
Yeah, I definitely think so. He's certainly got the experience battling on Chalktown and many other leagues prior to that. So then Shauno Mac versus Carney. We've been talking about this one for a while as a surprise battle. How was that battle?
That was great. I mean, obviously the difference in quality with these guys who are, I guess, more experienced. I saw Shauno Mac at the Ritz against Big J. So obviously, he knows what he's doing. He's hilarious. He said that Carney looked like he had a knuckle on his nose, which I just thought was amazing. And he flipped the Norfolk pussy thing as well. Oh, right. I really like Carney. I didn't know of him previously, but he's definitely someone to look out for. Yeah, it was a fantastic battle, really.
So yeah, Maddo versus Rabter. I mean, briefly, how was it?
Yeah, Maddo, I felt like he had a good performance. He kept dipping into sort of Batman voice kind of thing.
Right.
It was okay. The crowd was tired by this point,
a
and
lot of
everyone
battles,
was
as I say,
really
like, a lot
drunk.
of battles.
Yeah, and he just didn't get. He didn't really get any reaction. I think he deserved more than what he got. Rabda was interesting. He sort of like looked like what's the fella from E17?
Brian Harvey?
He looked like Brian Harvey with a voice like Brian Blessed. It was a really odd mixture. He was okay. Again, he just didn't get really any reaction. I think that had it gone on earlier on in the day, it would have been a different story. I feel like they both deserved a little bit more than what they got, but people were pretty drunk by this point.
They were. And, still the reactions came, though. It was great to see Benny P there versus Scabman and Scaldy. This is a cool matchup between two guys who had already, really proven themselves beyond an academy level, I think. But, two guys, especially Benny P, had Ben on the show before he was even a battler. And, to see him duke out now at the academy stuff is really fucking cool. So, this was pretty cool.
Yeah, he had a good, sort of clowning 2012 kind of style.
Yeah.
I felt like he styled on Scabman a little bit. I'd have probably given it to Benny, although I think it was pretty equal.
Mm-hmm.
I think he commanded the room really well, and given the kind of the lack of reaction to the previous battle, didn't really hold up too much hope for crowd reaction. But people were into it. Like Scabman, he was good. Not super memorable. I'd have given it to Benny probably 2-0. But yeah, it was a good closing battle, really, because the last one was odd.
Yeah, the last one, so Slester didn't have an opponent, so spat to Sean O'Mac, who then tagged in Bobby, right?
Yeah, so Clester, he went first. His first was good, but it was very short. It felt like it was maybe 45 seconds, 50 seconds kind of thing. Sean O'Mac freestyle maybe 3 or 4 bars, and then he tagged in Bobby Rex, who just barked at Clester for probably longer than was necessary. Clester got out his second. It was okay. It was just a weird end to the event, I thought. But
all in all, as always, pretty fucking memorable.
Yeah, it's definitely nothing I'll forget. And I think I remember it better than Bobby does, because he put in one of the discussion groups this morning. I battled last night, didn't I? ? I think.
I don't think these are going on YouTube. I think the majority will stay on the network. So, go support Premier Battles and check out these battles. Or I'm sure if you're like most people, you just want to listen to this, you're probably never going to watch them. But no, thank you guys, whatever you are doing. And shout out to Premier Battles as well, and all the battlers especially for performing. So, James, we are going to do an episode in the future that we've already discussed, called Battle Rap Sins, which is basically us pointing out things, and I've sort of opened it up to Twitter and Facebook and whatever, and I've got literally hundreds of comments, like it's ridiculous, of just things that piss people off, unwritten third rounds or phones or whatever, scheming through the card, or, it can be as major or minor or as idiosyncratic as you want it to be, and we're just going to sort of use them and go through them and count them and discuss them or whatever. So yeah, if you guys have any of those as well, get in touch with me at battlerapresume@gmail.com. I am definitely looking forward to this episode. But finally, for you, like the Academy, let's talk highlights, like performers, battles, like what were the best things?
From yesterday?
Yeah.
So, Just J, Visual, Graza, Yannick, they're the guys who really stood out for me. As I said, Yannick barking in Rubik's face at the end of his choke. That felt like a real moment, and I hope people check that out, because, like I said, the guy was just like a powerhouse at that moment. From what I saw yesterday, I feel like Just J, he'd be my pick, I think, to take it. Yeah, it was amazing event. It was free, and I think like Briggsy did a really good job of controlling a pretty rowdy crowd.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing was one of the slickest events I've ever been to. Actually, it moved along at a real pace.
It did. It was, it was kind of the seasoned approach of Briggsy. Definitely shone through there. So, yeah, man, this has been great. We are going to return for another episode shortly, probably next week, 2 weeks or so. Everyone out there, if you want to support the show as well, subscribe to us on YouTube, on Twitter. Patreon, as always, is there, patreon.com/battlerapresume. What about yourself, James? Anything quickly you'd like to promote or anything like that?
No, I got nothing to promote. No, I'm good. Who's your hot pick to win, Tom?
Wow, Milky.
Milky,
yeah.
I regret not having seen that.
Yeah. Actually, if there was to be one performance that they would release on YouTube, I think it makes sense to release that battle. And Easy Stuff as well was pretty effective, actually, and pretty memorable, and I think it will hold up on cam. And, that was a good match. That was fun. He said he underestimated Milky or something like that. And, he did, to be fair, but, Milky was superb in that, definitely deserved the performance of the night. So, this has been great, man. As I say, we'll be back shortly, but thank you again, James.
Thank you for having me on. Cheers, Tom.
All right, thanks, man. That was good.
Cheers, thank you.
I'm doing the live stream now, so I'm going to get the Don't Flop guys on. But I'll message you in about a week or so, and we'll arrange for the other episode.
Oh, nice one. Cheers, Sam.
All right, take it easy, man.
Thanks. Bye.
Mate.